So a lot of videos on this car going on here. I purchased this car this is a 93 Mustang LX 50 convertible for the business, or for my wife's business, that is. So running a little rough, not horrible, a little rough and a little hot. And I've gotten to the point where I used to try to repair and keep lines going, vacuum lines, and I'm going to talk about where the vacuum lines and where they go. So you don't, this is not the video you want, you can go ahead and turn off now. But you know, there's not a lot of good videos out there about vacuum lines, and I mean all the vacuum lines. So first thing is, I'm going to go over the vacuum lines, where they go, the ones you need to be concerned with. So originally, this is what the vacuum line looked like, and I only did it this way. You can see I can put some, you know, some, I guess you can say, hoses to sort of keep it going for a little while, because it was really bad. When I got it, about half these lines are broken. And what there is there's the coupler here, and this is the other side of the coupler. Sometimes you can pull these hoses out and reuse the coupler, but it's too shot, unfortunately, and I can't. So I just hooked the hoses directly up to this. So let's talk, first of all, why you care about these vacuum lines. A couple things. These vacuum lines, there's a general belief if you unconnect the EGR, or remove an EGR, and you take out a lot of this emission system, you can just do it. Yes, you can, if you have a tune to do it. So in other words, if you buy a tuner, and these would have to be like an eliminator chip, because this is pre 86 or 96, sorry. So you'd have to get an eliminator chip, hook it up to your computer if you really want to get rid of all this emission stuff. I've done that, and I have found I never get the car to run as good as I like. If you're really going to commit to removing the emissions, EGR, and all this stuff, what you want to do is take it to a reputable tuner, someone that really knows these, and it knows these cars. You will not have a problem then. But if you just buy the tunes from a lot of the manufacturers that sell them over the internet and stuff, you're not going to have happy results, and you're going to have a car that generally runs rich. Regardless, you got to deal with your vacuum hoses unless you are going to remove this emission system. If you remove the emission systems, then you need to cap all these vacuum lines over here, and you would just cap it on the manifold. But let's start on the back, coming off the upper intake manifold, 4 vacuum lines. The front one here, as you can see, goes to the evap canister down here, and I've already had to fix this and run a new vacuum line. So there's like a tunnel, I don't know what the word we'll use, in the middle of that, and then this one runs through the front on the back of the manifold itself. And I'm going to do the best I can to show this. There's 3 vacuum lines. The big one goes to a tree. I'll go back to that one. That one is held on by a clamp. Generally they don't go bad. The rubber, you can just touch them to see. If they start to get brittle, you'll need to replace it. Mine's still in good condition. It actually looks like it's already been replaced. But the other 2 lines were not in good condition. The farthest one back is your main one here that goes to all your emission system. The other one here that I'm pointing at, so this one goes to your emission stuff. This one here goes to the fuel regulator here on the fuel rail that goes directly from the manifold. So I replaced that line already. I replaced the other line. They were broken. Alrighty. So that line comes and goes to the red. It might be gray, it could be red, but why you care is the red line's the main line. The main line is what feeds the rest of these other lines. Okay, from there, the bottom one here goes to the EGR. The middle one goes to the diverter, and that's called the pump diverter. That's where it sends some of it back into the, and I think this one's capped. No, this one's still here. It goes back into the manifold, and then the other one goes to the sensor on the air pump that shuts and opens it. It's usually called a vacuum sensor that controls it, but that's where that line goes here. And you can see I made another one here. And then this top one here, I don't know what it's to. Maybe there's another item if you bought with the car. I'm not familiar with what it goes to. So that's the emissions side. I will explain these hoses here in a minute. On the tree, it goes straight from the manifold with the bigger hose to the tree here. The first one is capped, and I don't know what this one would go to normally on this car, and I've never seen a car with one on it. I've always seen these caps. So you just want to check your cap. This one looks fine. If you move them or if you feel any brittleness, you want to replace them. The second one goes over to the air pressure solenoid there. Not solenoid, but an air pressure regulator that goes back into your car. And that is for your environmental controls inside your car. The second one here goes to the cruise control. And then this one goes to the brake booster. That's why it's BB. And again, this has been replaced. You can see it sometimes. Someone upgraded this whole entire braking system brake kit, and it's all 4 disc brakes now. So this was completely upgraded, and the from a SVO car. Not sure why the original owner did that. I guess for the 4 brakes kit, but it's really hard braking, really stiff braking with this configuration. So in this wheel well here, you have this rubber cover that holds the actual solenoid, and there's a vacuum booster in there as well for the cruise control. I checked these lines. They're not brittle, so I'm not going to mess with it, but sometimes you'll want to double check inside there to make sure there's not any other broken lines. These are surprisingly decent condition. Usually I have to replace most of them, but overall, yeah, we're good to go on that. This vacuum regulator, this line here goes inside the car for your environmental controls. This line here, this line I did replace, goes to a vacuum reservoir right there. I replaced that line, and then from the red line here that we're looking at goes to another vacuum regulator, whatever you want to call it, and then it splits off into the different sensors, which I'm going to show. And then there's another reservoir here in the car, another vacuum reservoir there. So I just checked the lines on that. They look fine. The truth is, I'm not overly concerned about this, but if you really think you're having problems, you're getting EGR codes or getting engine codes, you're gonna have to replace that. And sometimes you even got to replace the reservoir while you're at it. I am not getting any of those codes. So there's 4 solenoids here. There's an EGR solenoid. There's 2 other vacuum solenoids. One controls the diverter from the air pump, and the other one controls the actual solenoid on the air pump itself to open and shut it. So there's this top solenoid here, which I'll show as I put on. It's your EGR. You can blow on the lines to make sure they're good. That's why I had to replace that. Mine was not good. And then to make sure I don't mess them up, I end up vacuuming or zip tying 2 together just to make sure I don't mess them up. You know, and I get it right. So the front one here is the one that goes to a valve for the air pump, and the second one goes to the diverter from in the line from the air pump. So I bought all the new solenoids. So the EGR solenoid is part of your fuel regulation on your car. So again, when I talk about removing your EGR, it is part of the in the computer itself saying how much fuel is going to the injector. So again, worth replacing. The other ones, I'm not aware that they're anything to do. I just replace them. I'm going to waste the time. They're a pain to get in and out of, and I'm just going to do it while I'm doing the EGR. Do it now. This car is 30 years old and won't have to deal with it for another 30 years. So that's all the vacuum lines in this car. So I forgot, I said there's 4 hoses coming off the upper intake manifold. There's actually 5. The one I was missing to talk about is the one for the PVC. It goes from the front. It goes from the front here, and it goes around to connect back. Doing my best to film this here. It connects back into the back side of the manifold again, and then it goes to the PVC connector, and the PVC is right there on this car. So that's the one I forgot. So there's a total of 5. If you're concerned, you have a vacuum link issue, 90% of the time on these older Foxbodies, you start replacing some of the lines. I was not able to find a kit. Please, if you know where a kit is, or a company that makes a kit for these, please put it in the description. I would love to know one, because the truth is I don't like splicing these things together. And I have 8, 10, and 14 hoses laying around, and I use those hoses as needed to, you know, deal with these. And I would wish someone would make a, you know, just a replacement vacuum, I guess, I don't know, just a vacuum set or whatever to deal with this. I did take off the EGR valve to get access to the fuel regulator there, but you could probably reach your hand back there. I always also replace the EGR and the sensor on the EGR when I work on these cars. Again, to me, it's not worth dealing with later. 90% of the time, if you also have a vacuum leak, it's going to be this EGR, because again, it's 30 years old and they get brittle and it'll leak. So that's why I'm replacing it. So with that, the EGR solenoid, it is EVS98. On this one's just called a vacuum solenoid. When you look it up, again, it controls the valve on the front. Part number 911156, and the other part number, which is the diverter solenoid, is 600-401. It's kind of confusing when you look up these parts. I can't remember which one, but one of these shows up as 4-wheel drive, 4 vacuum 4-lock or something like that. It's kind of weird. The only reason I know so much, you guys will probably know I had a video where I replaced all these on the 98, and when I got going on this, I just assumed there was some similarity, and that a lot of these solenoids are up in the wheel well. They were not. It still gave me a chance to look it over, but with that, I'm going to go ahead and replace all these solenoids. The solenoids are held by a bottom plate, and so again, so you don't mess it up, tied 2 of them together to make sure that I don't get them messed up, the actual connectors on these. And this screws in right here on the plate, right down there. So the first one, you can, and if you look at the connectors are different on these. If you look at the first connector, it's got a little bar facing down, so I know on this, the first one is going to be the this one here, which is again the one that controls opening and shutting of the solenoid against the air pump, or the vacuum against the air pump. And then this second one here goes in here. I ended up having to saw the clip in between. It didn't fit perfect, so and unfortunately this just is not easy to do. There's not really enough room with these vacuum lines. So I'm going to go ahead and start connecting this up, and hope I don't break any lines in the process. First one's in. Now the diverter. No, wrong one. There's two, I believe they're 8mm screws that hold this in, and the bracket just simply screws into the frame of the car. It's a real pain to get in there, in fact. Not a cool location. Next one, EGR. EGR's in. Everything is hooked up, and as you can see here, I removed the to make this easier, I removed the hose, intake hose here, using the wrong term. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the new EGR in at this point. For the most part, it's like I'm putting the gasket on. Okay. Part number on the EGR valve is CB352B from Duralast. And before you put it on, I purchased a new position sensor. Oh, wrong one. SU209, and that's just, it just tells the computer at what position the sensor is. You just want it facing down. And I believe this is a 7mm, there are 7mm bolts as well. Quarter inch. The other thing I always do when I'm in here is, because I don't know what anybody's done on this car, I'm going to replace the sensor on the accumulator, which is for the it engages the solenoid, or the compressor for the AC. If you have AC on the car and you've converted it to 134A, there's a different sensor. This car was converted, but that's the original sensor, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it off and replace it. hand tight, then 1/2 turn. Perfect. Okay.
So if you like this video, go ahead and smash the like button below. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell if you want some notifications. See you next time on Chasing Mustangs.
Thanks.
All right.
Great job.
Yeah, I see it like literally every day.